All right, good morning, everyone. We are live streaming on what is today? Today's Wednesday. Yeah, so good morning. We got Alex Deacon, Pittsburgh rockstar agent, broker, investor. So, morning, Alex.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me on. This is going to
Yeah,
be a good one today.
this is going to be a great
Yeah.
one. I think this is what a lot of people have been hoping for, waiting for. So, let's dig right into it. What are you going to show us today?
Essentially, we're going to share a screen, and I'm going to go. I've done a lot of. We've done a lot of workshops, probably a couple dozen. I've done over the past 10 years or so. So I used to have and we talked earlier because maybe what we'll do on the next live stream is I have a PowerPoint presentation which goes through the meat and potatoes of from start to finish to buy and sell and refinance all that stuff. But this one and people like that podcast or they like that slideshow because it really goes through each step. So it's kind of nice. But the other thing I add to that is at the end of the each session we would go through a project that I'm working on or or just a project that maybe is on the market now and we critique it. So we get to walk through it via some pictures and we get to dissect where you spend your money, how much it's going to cost, because where you should spend your money really depends on the product. It depends on the area. If you're buying something in a really affluent, high average income, household income area, you're going to do some different finishes. And if you're buying in a lower income area that's maybe more Section 8 prevalent, where you're going to get more Section 8 type of tenants, you're going to do a little different finish because you don't want to over improve, but you still want to make the properties, whether they're really high end or low end, you want to make them safe, you want to make them efficient, you want to make them durable. So you can cut costs and corners in some areas, you can't in others, and it's really important to delineate and to know where you can cut corners because that's going to be the difference between you making a profit and you not making a profit. And because every little bit helps, because there's so much competition, there's so much to know, there's such a huge learning curve. Uh, the the ROI on these properties is smaller, and you just have to do higher volume and work on smaller margins. And it can work, but every little piece of the puzzle has to fit into place. So I picked a property that we're going to be rehabbing and for one of our clients, and we can start there if you want to share the screen.
All right, let's do this. So, bear with us, people. This is the first time we're really going to be doing sharing our screens and walking through this. So, here we go.
All right, so this property it's in Sheridan, which is a part of Pittsburgh. It's a Pittsburgh city limits. It's a nice little community. It's I would class it, and there's different areas of Sheridan. Some are strong C areas, maybe even C plus. Some are D minus. I would say this specific area is just the strong middle D area. So it's not the best neighborhood. But this property here is a duplex. It's up and down. So the first floor unit right here where my arrow is, we're going to be redoing this unit. It's just a small 2-bedroom apartment. So we had to evict the tenant out of there. And surprisingly, they left the place very clean, which was, it blew my mind because when you walk into places like this, they're typically pretty hammered as far as flooring and paint. So this is a relatively light rehab. So we got rid of the tenant, and this is the first room. And you can see the carpet is actually in really good shape, which blew my mind. Because remember, you walk into this first room, and that's usually the foot traffic. So I think whoever lived there, literally, they had their children, or whoever lived there, if it was just adults, they must have taken their shoes off when coming in. So it was a pleasant surprise. So in this room, we're basically going to paint, and we might not paint everything. Like if you look at the ceilings, we're going to leave the ceilings alone, most likely. You don't always have to paint ceilings, and yes, it would only cost an extra $150 to paint a ceiling, but it makes a big difference because you have 4 rooms here that ceilings don't need painted in. That's $600. So in this specific room, this is the living room. We'll probably have the carpets cleaned, and we will paint as needed. So, for example, Let's see if we can go to a different picture. We're not going to paint this paneling or anything like that. That looks good. In this room, I believe there was some touch-up paint in the basement already, so we kind of know the color. And even if you don't know the color, you can take a piece of this paint off and take it to a good quality paint store, and they can match it up pretty close. So let's say we only had to paint this one wall. Let's say there was just one spot. Even if you get a color match, you're not going to match it perfectly. So you might not have to paint this entire room, but you might be able to color match and just paint this wall. And you might think, well, what's the difference? Why don't I just paint the other 3 walls? Because this 4th wall is obviously wood pine paneling. No, because those other 3 walls might cost $100 to $150 to paint. So now instead of doing the ceiling and 3 walls, which would cost $600-700, now that room is only going to cost, let's say, $200. So you can see where every little bit helps. Like in the closet, we typically don't spend a lot of money in the closet. If it's presentable and it's clean, even if it has some marks or blemishes, small minor blemishes, we're going to leave it alone. Just make sure the door looks good, because most tenants, when they're looking at a property, they're not looking at how nice the closets are. They just want them presentable and clean. So this room with the carpet cleaning, touch-up paint, maybe some minor carpentry, because the things you want to check is like, does this window open and close? Does the door open and close? Is the door handles in good shape? How's the light fixture? In this case, there's no center light fixture, but if you zoom in, there's a couple ceiling lights here. Are they okay? Because if they're okay, we're going to keep them. We'll probably put some LED bulbs in there just because they're brighter and more efficient. So if we're lucky, we get, and you can see some of the stuff that was left behind. So obviously we need to get that cleaned out. So to clean out this place was a total of about $350. So, and we'll go room by room, because you see this debris here, which is really just a trash bag, but you have some furniture, and we have a company that basically does just the clean outs. They go in first. So on a good day, this room, we might be able to get away with the clean out, cleaning the carpets, touching up the paint, anywhere between $400 and maybe $600, and we're done with that one room. That's just another view there. And sometimes it depends on the owner and what their budget is, but sometimes we'll put blinds. We'll put window blinds in. Window blinds are maybe $15 a blind. In this case, we'd probably have to get 2, or you get one long one and just place it in there. At least it's nice for privacy and just adds a little bit of value. We'd also check to see if there's a smoke detector in there. I think that's a good idea to get that
Sorry,
handled now.
I may have missed you, but did we actually give like a cost for this property to get into it initially?
This is one that we manage. So I don't remember what the owner had paid for it. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that. I'm just kind of I'm going to go through this one as just what it would cost to get it re-rented. This typically, it's a 2-bedroom. We'll rent for up to $800, because it's kind of small. And in this area, 800's probably pushing it. But we'll go through it and I'll show you why that number I think is fair. And this is one of the bedrooms. So again, we have to remove some of the personal belongings. In this room, we're going to try to just touch up paint, clean the carpet. We might get in and out of this room for hopefully $400. We'll check the window, make sure it works, make sure that all the doorknobs are tight, the doors open and close and shut properly. This already has a new LED light, so we're just hopefully not going to have to replace that. I'm sure it works. The electricity was off when I took these pictures. You can see how small that bedroom is. So it's a small second bedroom. So right now we're up to maybe $1,000. The bathroom was pretty good shape. It's not ideal. It's not perfect. I mean, you have yellow tile, you have a different color floor, you have an off-color tub. But again, we're working with an apartment that's basically, we're going to providing basic, clean housing for somebody. So we put all new bulbs in here, LED bulbs. If any of these aren't working, we're just going to replace all four. It's $10, not the fixture, just the bulbs. Make sure this ceiling, this exhaust fan's working. You could see, I think it's leaning down a little bit, so we might have to repair that. But all in all, this room might need painted, some light bulbs, and hopefully some minor caulking around the tub and a good cleaning. You're spending maybe $300-400 in this room. And if there's any questions, Mark, just interrupt me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just following along and following the chat. See a lot of people tuning in. Hopefully, got some people looking at switching markets. We got people from Florida tuning in, North Carolina, California, York, Pennsylvania. I know Jeff is up in York.
Okay. Yeah. Feel free to ask questions. This is good time for Q&A, and I don't mind stopping and just answering a question. So this kitchen, apparently, I think we redid this apartment 4 or 5 years ago or something, and we had painted these cabinets. So these cabinets don't look bad. They're going to need some touching up. We put the black hardware will stay. So we'll touch up the cabinets. The appliance looked fine. We'll probably have to do some painting in here again, maybe not everything. The appliances the refrigerator seemed to be clean. You can see up in this corner here, we had a leak. So we want to verify that second floor apartment, the leak is stopped. And if it is, then we'll go ahead and finish this plaster here and finish up the ceiling. So this room probably is going to need a complete repaint. Kitchens usually take a little more of a beating, plus the ceiling. So, in this room, if we have to touch up some of the cabinets and paint, do some plaster repair, I mean, you could clean the appliances, you could spend up to $1,000 in here.
I know you're kind of touching on appliances. What is common for Pittsburgh or the properties that you manage on handling appliance? Like, do you provide washer dryers typically the um, owners, or how do most people handle it in this market?
We typically, unless it's a higher end property, or if it's a stackable washer and dryer, which most people aren't going to go out and buy a stackable. But let's say this had in the unit laundry, then you're probably going to supply the washer and dryer. It's a stackable. But in most cases, we don't supply washers and dryers unless it's something that's negotiated, just because that's two less appliances you have to worry about. We always supply a fridge. We always supply a stove. There are some landlords that don't, but I think in most cases, they do supply the general kitchen appliances.
We have Harrison Trade Better 99, who's in Virginia, but who is looking at the Pittsburgh market also. But he's asking about, what about paneling? Do tenants care about that dated wood look? And I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, though.
Yeah, paneling is ugly as hell, but what are you going to do? But there's two types of paneling. This is like a naughty pine paneling, which it doesn't look so bad. And then you have that really cheap, this is like actual tongue and groove wood. And then you have that really cheap paneling. It's just a 4x8 piece of paneling. So typically we will paint paneling. And at the end of the day, a piece of painted paneling looks just as good as a painted wall. Most tenants aren't going to notice it. Again, it's just more on the higher end side of things. You might want to replace the paneling and just drywall it. Or if you're flipping the property and it's, depending on the location, the area, the price you're asking, you might want to replace any paneling or drop ceilings and do plaster. But in this case, given where this is located, a D area, given what we're going to be asking for rent, I don't think this looks terrible. So that's just a personal call. We could paint this paneling, but it's probably going to cost $300-400 to paint this, because you have to prep it properly, and then you're going to probably put a really good coat of primer and then 2 coats of paint. So it might add $400 or $500 to the cost of this room. Personal preference. I wouldn't do it, but it's up to the owner. So back to the kitchen. Yeah, the kitchen, again, it looked good. We make sure all these doors open and close. Make sure the drawers are working. Touch up the paint. So about $1,000 in this kitchen, because I think we're going to have to repaint everything. So far we're at about $2,500 to get this ready. That includes final cleaning, cleaning the appliances, getting this kitchen up and running, painting the one bedroom, painting the other living room, cleaning the carpets, and doing the bathroom. And there's a close up of that ceiling in the kitchen. This is the rear deck. All we'd probably do there is just basically clean it up. I gave the owner an option to have it pressure washed and clean some of the, cut back some of these trees. I don't like trees anywhere near a house, so but sometimes it's just not cost effective, and you have to eliminate those over time, which I'm constantly doing. It's like a every month I'm cutting a tree down somewhere on one of my properties, and it gets costly. So you have to stagger that over time because trees just cause damage with the leaves, and the trees can cause damage with the sewer lines because they can get in and penetrate even a plastic sewer line. They can do damage. They can do damage to sidewalks because of the roots. They can do damage to foundations because they're pressing and putting pressure on the foundation if they're very close. So trees are a bad thing within 30 or 40 feet of a property, in my opinion. But that was the option of the owner. Does he want to do that or not? That's additional costs, and I think we're going to lean on just trimming it up a little bit and getting rid of some of the debris in the backyard. So that was about $500. This is 295. All right, so somebody put a lock on this. So this is the basement. We're gonna have to get this removed. Just the bolt cutters to cut that, so I can shut the breakers off, so we can get the electricity turned on. Can you hear that, Mark?
Yes.
And let's see down here as far as laundry facility. So we have separate gas. Older basement. We have one water meter. One water meter. That's separate gas and electric. Second furnace is back there. I'm gonna say we don't have any laundry down here. Let me stop it there. So we do have laundry hookups down here. So you can see there's an electrical outlet for an electrical dryer. We do have a hookup right there. And then I noticed, and we do have one over there. So there's one in the back. See, so you segueing back to the washer dryer. So if the tenants want to bring their own washer and dryer, they can. They have their own hookups for their own washer and their own dryer in this particular unit. In this case, the second floor tenants don't use a washer and dryer. They probably go out to a laundromat. So the overall cost to do this light rehab, probably on the low end, 3,500, on the high end, 5,000. And that just depends on what you run into. Sometimes you run into plumbing issues that you're not aware of. Like for instance, go back to this picture here, like that ceiling. Doesn't look that bad, right? We cut this out, but then you cut that out and then you realize, oh my gosh, there's a major plumbing issue up there. It's still not repaired. Or maybe there's some rotted wood up there, or, this small repair that would cost a few $100s might turn into a few $1,000s because you realize that the plumbing stack is completely rusted and there's no point in closing it up if it's going to come back and drip again and cause damage. You have to replace the stack there and then all the way down the wall. So it can get expensive. That's why you always have those contingencies in your rehab budgets, because you never know what you're going to run into. So any questions on this small apartment turnover?
No, I think there's a great breakdown. I think it's a good. Actually, I think people just want to see also the type of properties that are in Pittsburgh. Like these older homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this was a great walkthrough of what a lot of the properties do look like, and
This is a good example
yeah,
of a
exactly.
100-year-old property.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if does anyone have any in the chat? If you folks have any other questions or maybe a photo that you want to go back and look on, Alex can bring it back up. But yeah, so here's the outside of it.
That's the outside. So let's just say we're looking at this for potential investment. So I'm looking at not just the rents and the utility expense and what the P&L is. I'm also looking at all the deferred maintenance it's going to cost me money later down the road. So, for example, let's say we had just some massive oak tree right here, and it's just growing over this and growing over this neighbor's yard. At some point, that tree might become a liability. At some point, it might start to, um, it might be dead, and it might just be a matter of time when it's going to fall on your property, on someone else's property. The insurance company might say, "Hey, you know what? You need to get rid of that tree, or we're going to drop you as insurance." Or we did an audit and we drove by some of the properties, so on and so forth. So if you're looking at this, you budget for that. And a big tree like that with overhangs power lines, and you have cars and cars on the street where might have to shut the street down, that could be $5,000 or $10,000 depending on the size of the tree. So you have to think about that. Okay, that's not going to be an expense now, but let's say that tree cost $8,000 and it in 2 years from now, right? And let's say my cash flow on this property is $5,000 a year. You just annihilated your cash flow for almost 2 years because of a tree. So it's the things you don't budget for or think about. Other things, you're looking at the siding. Okay, I'm going to have to paint this every 5 to 10 years. All right, let me budget $1,000 for every 10 years. Look at the condition of the decking on the floor. Look at this repointing that's going to need done. You see that? You see the brickwork there?
Hmm. How much does something like that typically run?
It's not much. What I would do is you wouldn't have the best mason go there and do this. You just loosely repoint that properly, and then probably what I would do personally is I would just paint this white. It would look really good, protects it, because what that is it's over time. It's raining on this sidewalk, and it's splashing up on there, and it's loosening the mortar joints over 5 or 10 years. What else? Aesthetically pleasing. The house is not aesthetically pleasing. So, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to paint all this? This house to paint is going to be $5,000 to $8,000. I mean, that's a lot of painting. So, are you really going to get your money back by painting this house? Probably not. And I wouldn't suggest doing it. You see this electrical line here? It's pulling away from the house.
Hmm.
That is not a serious issue, but that should be stabilized and moved into the house. And it almost looks like that electrical line is in pretty poor shape. So that's something to consider, that you're going to have to spend a few $1,000s just to put a new line into the boxes. And the windows, look at the age of the windows. Are they 20, 25 years old, just on their last of useful life? Then now you're going to replace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say 6 windows, 7 times 2 more, another side and a half. I mean, let's say 10 to 15 windows. That's $5,000 to $10,000 in windows over the next 10 or 15 years. And then up here, you have some soffit and fascia that's going to need to be painted. And because it's so high, it costs a lot of money to do that. So you have to budget for that. And then you look at the age of the roof. Like, it's not really a good picture, so I can't really tell. But sometimes you can look at a roof and you can see visibly that it's in really poor shape. And then obviously when you do a home inspection, your inspector will corroborate that, how old it is, and then like a roof like this is, 8 to $15,000 depending on different variables. So if you take all that into consideration, potential tree, if there was a tree here, windows, exterior maintenance, um, soffit and fascia roof, over the next 15 years, all that needs replaced. Then you're talking about $30,000, and that's what you have to factor in when you purchase, because it might cash flow for 10 years, no problem. And then year 11, everything goes south, and year 11 costs you 30 grand, and year 11 eats up the past 10 years of profit. So I see that happen a lot. So just factor in these items. You can't forget about them because, real estate requires maintenance, and you have to take care of it. It's not like a stock. You buy a stock and you just forget about it. This is something you need to maintain and protect.
Is there anything that maybe newer investors, when going through this, like they wanna address it or fix it, and you kind of feel like it's not worth the, like you're saying, the returns that they're gonna get, like from your knowledge of, being doing this for, 20, 20, 30 years or so. Is there stuff you tell new investors like it's not worth putting money into that, I guess,
Mhm.
updating or upgrading? Yeah. So what would be like those
Yeah.
common
The,
things?
the one glaring one that stands out is I wouldn't spend 7 to 8 thousand to paint this. You know, I just wouldn't do it. You're not going to get any more rent. I mean, it's just not. It's not a good return on investment. It's just ugly. If anything, I maybe would get these eaves, these soffit and fascia painted because you want to protect the wood. While you got somebody up there, maybe you're painting this. That's just one glaring one that stands out. Yeah, well, I wouldn't paint the entire building because you got to remember what you're paying for it and where it is.
And I think, like you said, you do have a PowerPoint presentation, not for today, but I think you're talking about also, always looking at Google Map views and seeing what's
Mhm.
around the properties. And so, like you
Right.
said, this could be a common thing for this area, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. See, this is aluminum siding. So obviously, I don't they don't make aluminum siding for quite a while, but so this siding is probably every bit of 40 years old, maybe 50. Now, if you're here and you're a local guy and you have the resources to do this painting yourself, and the painting could only be just basically the paint in your time, I would paint it. But you have to prep it properly because you could paint it and not prep it properly, and then it's going to flake off in a couple years, and you've wasted all that time. So even if you do paint it, just make sure the person you're doing the painting is prepping it properly and using a very good exterior paint because you don't want to put all that money into it, and then in 3 years you see the paint peeling off. It's nothing worse than spending all that money and have it was just wasted. So that's just a small rehab in a D area. Probably costs us less than 5 grand on the high end, maybe as low as three. We can get that done in 2 weeks and have it rented, marketed for rent.
And most of the work for this one, like you're saying, too, you probably would be in house for your management company, right? Or the
Yeah, if we're managing it, we would handle all that. And I'm giving you the prices of what I'm estimating this for this owner.
but
Now,
yeah.
if you're here and you're doing it yourself, you could probably do that for if you're doing it yourself, there's very little material cost here. It's mainly labor. So you might have $1,000 in materials. Paint costs money. Paint's expensive today. Little things here and there, but you might have 1,000 into it max. But then you're doing the work, and where's your time best served? Is it best served working on an apartment here at nights, or is it best served hiring somebody, getting it done, getting a renter and income in there a lot quicker than you could do it on your own?
All right. This is a great walkthrough. Do we have any other properties you want to show or other work
Yep,
you've been working on?
I do. But I think I closed the damn window because
No,
I'm
yeah. So you can just share
just
the next one.
let all the listeners know I am technologically very slow.
No, that's why we jumped on half an hour early to make sure you got your mic set up. And
Man, I'm 58 years old, if that says anything. So technology is
if
not
Frank, old guy REI, is here, he's like, yeah, I agree with him.
okay. So let's open up this next
All
one.
right, let's see. I'll wait for it to pop up on my end. So what is this one we're going to be taking a look at?
Okay, this is a flip that I just did,
Okay.
literally on the same street, 2 blocks over.
Okay.
And how do I share this? Let's go to that. No, that's the wrong one. Damn it. Oh no, I picked the wrong one. Oh my Lord. Here we go. There it is. Okay. Let me move this over to here.
I
Where
don't
did
see
you
it
go?
on my I don't see it on my end yet.
I lost you. Oh my Lord.
I see you though. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I
Okay.
don't know where you went. Oh, there you are. Okay, there it is. Just click on that. Oh, share.
Okay.
Ooh, that was painful.
No, there we
Sorry,
go.
y'all had to visualize that. That was painful. All right, so can everybody see that now?
Yes.
This is one literally down the street. So how I found this was it was this was a wholesaler brought it to my attention. And I think the wholesaler doesn't have a huge list. So I was fortunate because this is a pretty good deal for me. It's a let's see, one, two, 3 bedroom, single family home. The outside was in really very good condition. So I'll show you what it looked like before I bought it. I think we paid like 60. I think I paid about 60 for this. So front door. So what we did here is, remember, this is a flip. So you're doing a little differently. You're spending a little more money. You're not over improving because this house, if it was balls to the walls, new everything, granite countertops, just nice, really nice, maybe 200,000. That's maybe. I just did I did a nice house that someone could move in, raise their family, live there. It's comfortable. They don't have to touch anything, but it's not any high end finishes. It was just very clean and nice. And you'll see what it looks like when it's done. So what we did on this front porch is we had all this pressure washed. We fixed up these steps because they were kind of loose. And I was actually going to replace these lights, and my contractor painted them, and man, they look brand new. I was like blown away that he painted them and they look new. So it might not seem like a big deal, but I don't know, light fixtures like this might be $50 each. And then you have to replace them, install them, go pick them up at the store. So maybe you're spending 200 to 250, and he spray painted them for $50. So that was kudos to him for thinking outside the box for me. This was just so when I bought this, the only inspection I did was I had a sewer line inspection, and the sewer line was fine. So I didn't have to do anything with that. And that was my only contingency there. On a lot of wholesales, you don't have the opportunity to do that. They sell them as is, and that always scares me because you never know what you're going to run into. And it's a crapshoot. In this case, I took that risk out of the equation. So this area here, I just had these downspouts. I had them cleaned up. It looks terrible. And then we mulched this whole area. And I'll show you the after pictures. But that didn't cost much. It just, you see how terrible that looks. So we made it look a lot nicer than that.
Is there any like red flag on the sewer scope that you would definitely make you walk away from a deal?
If the sewer was compromised and the owner didn't want to reimburse me or reduce the price, then I just have to rethink, okay, is there enough margin in this deal to move forward with, let's say that the sewer repair was $4,000 and my projected gross profit was 30. Am I willing to make 25,000? That's just the question you have to ask yourself. In this case, it was fine, so we moved forward. So we did some light painting on the outside here. I think I boarded up these windows and we painted them. It looks really good. Painted them brown. We stained the porch. Pressure washed. Cleaned up some landscaping. Cleaned that up. Nothing major, just cleaned it up, made it look presentable. More exterior painting. This had all new siding. Not new, but this siding was probably 15 years old and it was in good condition. I replaced the mailbox. We cleaned that up too, I believe. We'll see the after pictures. The rear had nice sidewalks. I fixed these downspouts, had a really nice garage. Didn't have much of a yard. Had a really nice garage. So that was essentially the yard. You could basically play, you could do some putting back here. That's about it. Practice your putting. This was the actual backyard. So it was more of a patio area. See right there. It was, but it didn't concern me. I knew that some people wanted the yard. They just wasn't going to appeal to them. And I made sure I adjusted my price based on that. But the garage was really nice and that added a lot of value. I didn't paint these doors. I thought they were acceptable. Maybe I cheaped out. I should have painted them, but just to fast forward, I put this on the market for $148,000 and I sold it in a week for full price.
So 60, I think you said, right? Purchase and
60. I think I have 50 into it. I think at the end of the day, I'll make about 30,000. Because remember, you have cost to buy, you have cost to sell, you have the holding costs. It adds up quick. And I think at the end of the day, I made 30, and 30 is a good margin.
yeah, nice.
I was very happy with that. We did a nice job. So this is the back door. So we painted that. This was the kitchen. The kitchen you can see it's an older kitchen. It was, if I was to guess, maybe this was redone 15 years ago, maybe 20. So it's not up to today's standards. It's not the color that people like. But it's acceptable. And that's what I wanted to keep it as an acceptable, affordable home. So what we did here is we painted everything, replaced some of the outlets. We cleaned up the ceiling tiles. They were just a little dirty, but very acceptable. As far as a rental, perfectly acceptable. As far as a flip, I mean, I could have gutted it, but you could see how nice it is. And to tear all that out to maybe make $5,000 more, it just wasn't worth for me the risk. So I left it. And we painted everything. So one thing I did, and it helped save a little bit of money. See this new flooring in here? And this flooring went all the way into the dining room. So I was able to, let's get to that picture. So what we did in here is we carpeted in here. And again, I cheaped out on this. Instead of doing LVP in here, I went carpet in the dining room and the living room. I was able to save this flooring, and we used that in the hallway, which hopefully I'll get to that soon. Okay. Yeah, this was the hallway. So you walked in. So what happened with this house was a very nice house. It was in move-in condition, virtually other than carpet and maybe some paint. It sat over the winter, and somebody left the water on and didn't winterize it, and it caused all this damage. So that's what happened. So this is how I bought it. There were some plumbing issues I had to fix. And so what I did was I took that flooring that was in the dining room, and we just basically extended it from the kitchen. See, the kitchen here had that flooring. So we took the flooring from the dining room, extended that. So it's not a big deal, right? It saved me maybe $700. Okay. But 700 here, 700 there, 800 here. And you're not really compromising the product. That adds up. So if I was able to increase my profit margin on this flip by $3,000, that's 10% more than I would have made if I did all new, because it's actually saved me more than that. Because otherwise I would have had a different floor in here. It wouldn't have looked right. Or I would have had to redo all the floor in the kitchen too. So it probably saved me well over $1,000. And the final product, well, I'll show you at the end, looks really good.
Can you quickly, for like us island folks, maybe quickly give what is winterizing a property?
So when you get temperatures here that regularly fall below freezing, potentially your pipes that have water in the pipes can freeze. And what can happen is your PVC supply lines or your copper lines can crack. And then when it warms up, it thaws. Now you have water energized and on, and you have a cracked pipe, and now you have water going everywhere. And the water caused all this damage. So typically when we winterize is we'll shut the water off, open up all the faucets so that drains all the pressure from the lines. You'll drain the hot water tank. You'll shut the gas off to the hot water tank. You'll leave the furnace on a very low setting because you want to keep the place. It's good to keep the heat on, because if you don't keep the heat on and it gets 10 degrees, and then in the summer it's 90 degrees, that your wood expands and contracts, and it can cause damage to plaster and plaster cracks. So it's good to keep the heat at a very low setting. So that's winterizing the property.
Right. Great information.
Yeah, it's a very important. So like this time of year, we manage 850 units. So right now we're like, okay, which properties are vacant? Let's get somebody over there, make sure they're winterized. Which properties last year or the year prior had a problem with freezing? Because you can still have occupied properties. I have ones myself that if you don't take some proactive measures, and it gets really cold, they're going to freeze again, even though they're occupied, just because the way the house was built, and things like that. So something that just to
Steven's
keep in mind.
asking, does PEX pipe crack?
PEX is much less likely to leak because I think it actually expands. I've never seen it crack. It's usually like maybe where they meet the PEX together in some crimping that wasn't done properly or something like that.
Do you folks also, like you're saying, all the properties you manage, do you advise the tenants, like if they go on vacation or any trips, to let
We
to know?
do.
Okay.
We do, but we had a bunch of students. They went away for a week. They decided, well, we pay the heat. Let's turn the heat off. So that caused a major problem. And I can't remember what happened there. I think our owner's insurance covered it, but it's really a shame because the tenants really were responsible for that, you know. But
Okay.
yes, we send out an email when it gets cold and say, look, make sure you keep your heat on. Make sure, like in your kitchen or your bathroom, open up the doors leading to the plumbing and maybe put a little space heater right there. If it's going to drop below 10 degrees, typically if it's 20 to 30 degrees, no problem. If it drops to 10 degrees or below and it's going to be that cold for a few days, then you want to take precautions to heat areas that are prone to freezing. And then another trick is you can leave a faucet on, maybe like a slow drip, because then that keeps the water flowing through the line. It's less likely to freeze. So we remind the tenants to do that. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So this was the rest of we had to drywall this and all that good stuff. So I'll fast forward to I do want to go to the bathroom just to show you why I did what I did here. So it's really important. If you see this bathroom, it was really nice. Like the person that lived here was an older person. You can see the shower had the hand grips, it had the seat. The shower was like brand new. I could have easily just saved this, put a floor in, put a toilet in, new vanity. But you notice how much room is here? Can you see
Yeah.
that, Mark?
Uh-huh.
There's hardly any room. When you put the toilet there, it's very tight. The vanity, when you put the vanity here, you have maybe 2 feet between the shower and the vanity. Just was not conducive to flipping a home. And this was the only bathroom. Other than the first floor had a powder room. So what I did was this wall here, I had my contractor move it about a foot. You'd think a foot's a lot, but a foot is a lot when you're dealing with a room that's 80 square feet. A foot is a lot. It probably added 10 or 15% to the square footage of that room. So I'll show you what the outcome was. And then we got, and the other thing was, if you're renting or you're selling this to a family, most people, It'd be different if this was an apartment. A shower's fine. 1-bedroom apartment, shower's fine. Maybe even a 2-bedroom apartment. But you're renting this and selling this to a family. They want to have a bathtub. So got rid of this, redid this whole bathroom, spent a little extra money, and it worked out for me. See how nice that was. I mean, this was a nicely done, very well, but I had to rip it all out. That's where the vanity was there. Very tight. This is Glenn Mark. Then I went up to the bedrooms. You had this makeshift closet here. It made this room feel really small, and it was very odd. So I had this closet ripped out, and we drywalled the ceilings because on the other wall, we already had a closet right there. I just added doors, and we did new carpet up there. This room was a very small room, so we added a closet in there. So it's a small closet, but at least added some closet space. This is the smallest. We obviously did some wiring, did some plumbing. This was the 3rd floor. I didn't want to put a whole lot of money in up there, so we just fixed all the plaster. We did an okay job there just to make it presentable. This room didn't have any heat. I did not add any heat to it. I just made it a presentable room that if somebody wanted to make it a usable space, they could do that in the future. And all they'd have to do is get some electrical lines up there and have some heating. So I put in all new light fixtures, fixed the plaster, and I carpeted. I wasn't even going to carpet it. And then the carpet was only an extra $1,000. Painting the floor was like $500. I'm like, the hell with it. I'm just going to carpet. And you'll see how nice it turned out. So this is the after repair. So minor landscaping, painted the front porch, covered up these windows here under the front porch, and pressure washed. See, we did some mulching here. Looks really nice. My contractor really did a nice job. He found this chair in the house and he painted it and put it out front. I just thought, wow, that's a good guy. He's a good contractor. Kitchen doesn't look much different. Cleaned it up. You see how we ran this flooring all the way through?
Yeah.
Turned out nice. Cleaned it up. Different paint scheme. We carpeted. Typically would do LVP in here, but again, I wanted to keep the budget down. I wanted to keep this affordable. It's quicker. It's easier. So we did a nice job in there, retrimmed it out, painted new light fixture. This was the powder room. That's right. That was already there. I did nothing in there. I didn't even paint. That's how clean that was. This is how the living room turned out. You remember all this was all busted out. There was no drywall in here. This was the laundry room. This was in the back of the house. So you come out of the garage, you walk into this mud room, which is nice. The laundry was up here on the 1st floor. That's the backyard and the garage. That's a back view of it. Didn't do much there. We fixed these downspouts, fixed the gutter, cleaned the gutters. Didn't have to do much there. Had to fix this soffit and fascia here. Had to do a little bit of work there. So then when I sold it for full price. Then I found that the AC and the furnace were very old. Home inspection revealed that they needed replaced, even though they worked. They were very old. Since I got full price, I worked with the guy and I installed a new furnace and AC. So I did some furnace and AC. I did some electrical work for the home based off of the home inspection, and I added some handrails inside. Anyway, I had to spend about $8,000. So yes, I did get full price, but the concessions were $8,000 because I was going to have to do that anyway. And I figured just do it and get it over with, because I would have probably accepted 142 as a price. I listed it for 148, around that price. So I thought, well, if I don't do this, I got to put it back on the market, and then I'm going to accept 142, and then they might want a furnace and AC. So I just had and bit the bullet because I got a good price for it.
I know this was a flip, but what would something like this also rent for in that?
This could have been a good rental too. So when I'm all done, I'm into it. Let's say, because I don't have the cost I could have got it done quicker. I wouldn't have had to put the furnace and AC in because they were working. I wouldn't have had to do some of the upgrades that I did. I wouldn't have had the sell costs. I would have had some refinance costs. I would have maybe had 110,000 into it, maybe 115, and it probably rent. This is a nice house. I probably could have rented that for 13 or 1400. It just wasn't something I wanted to hold on to. I wanted to just take that equity and then I can apply that somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But not a bad buy and hold either. See how nice the garage was. We didn't do anything in there.
Yeah.
So this is that one bedroom, that small bedroom that I had to add a closet. And you see what we did here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, added a small closet. It's maybe an 8 by 10 room, but now you have a little closet. You have enough room in here for a single bed, a good child's bedroom. This was the second largest bedroom. This had the big closet over here that was just a really poor design. We ripped that closet out, and now you can see how nice that bedroom turned out. And this was the biggest bedroom. This already had 2 closets. And see this wall here. See how this wall jets out? That's that bathroom. So that was the extra foot I took out of this bedroom. And you can see how nice this bathroom turned out.
Oh yeah.
Remember, this vanity would have been like here. This toilet would have been here. It was that extra 11 inches or a foot made a world of difference. What happened to that picture? That's just a blurry, but we did a tub and surround. Nice. It's a $600 tub and surround. Nothing super expensive, maybe $700. Nothing extravagant, but it turned out nice. And this is how nice that third floor turned out. You remember how rough this was up here?
Yeah.
Just painted and then carpeted. New light fixtures. There was only a few light fixtures up there. And in the basement, what we did was on these foundations, they're sandstone, so they're kind of rough and funky, and it was in pretty bad shape. I didn't have any pictures of that, damn it, because it night and day. If I could have shown you what it looked like before. But what you do here is we parts this with concrete. So they put like a concrete coating on it, and then I had them paint it. And this basement turned out really nice and clean. Yeah, so that total rehab budget was probably $50,000.
And how long did it roughly take?
It took it took longer than I wanted it to, just because the crew I had there got pushed into another job and so forth. I could have had this done in 3 months, but I think it ended up taking 4. And it's supposed to close tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Any questions?
I don't see any right now. I mean, so would you say this is a pretty, I guess, common or standard deal that you would find in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, this was an extraordinarily good one. Like these don't come around that often. There was just a lot of options here. Like I like these kind of flips because, listen, if I can't sell it and I wasn't going to make a fair profit of 25 to 30,000, then I can consider keeping it. And then I have a decent rental that's going to cash flow a little bit. And then I can sell it in the future when the market gets better or as the values increase. And so I like having options. Some of the properties I buy, like I'm doing a high end flip right now, which I won't do any more of those. I'm done with those. But I got so much time and effort into it, and we're going to end up probably breaking even.
Really?
And I don't have an option to rent it because our holding costs, if I refinance, they're going to be $3,500 a month, maybe 4,000, and I can't rent it for that much. So it's not, I don't have an option there. It's like I either flip it and sell it and make a profit or lose money, or I refinance it and rent it out and lose money. So the option is we're going to sell it, which is on the market right now, and we get what we get. It's just plain and simple.
So what happened on that one? Was there like where did the
Just we overestimated what we could sell it for. We
mm,
underestimated the budget. It was new construction that was 90% done. So we had to walk into it and it was just so many different things that weren't done correctly. There was inspections that weren't done. So we had to get, plumbing inspection, Allegheny County. We had to have the borough inspected. We had to have the deck re-inspected. It's bad decision on my part. We should have walked away from that, is what it is.
no? Hold on. There's a question. I think. Oh, I think we got to it. Yeah, you talked about the panels.
Hmm.
Uh, okay.
But construction costs here, they've gone up, not just here, I'm sure everywhere. Materials, labor, everything's gone up. So, yeah, just make sure you're budgeting the correct numbers. Like the two I'm doing for you right now, Mark, we're pretty on point. We're going to be a little over as always, but we didn't run into any surprises and we'll be good. But always budget on the high side and then have a contingency for, because what kills you is HVAC, plumbing. Those are the two big ones. And sometimes you don't know what you're getting into till you get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we can wrap that one up, and then once I get the refinance or the on that one, we can walk through that one and see how that one actually turned out. So kind of my
Yeah.
first little
Oh yeah, that would
small
be
burr project
mhm.
on
That'd be a good one
and
because
then
we can have the actual numbers on that, and yeah, that'll be a good one to share.
yeah. Yeah, this was a great one. I think a lot of people got a lot of good information out of it and just partly seeing what some of the properties look like in Pittsburgh. It's one thing to look at it on Zillow, but this is kind of going
Hmm.
through the process of how you're looking at it and what kind of work you want to get done on it. But
So, do you think it would be helpful next time if I had maybe like a street view and we can look at maybe 10 houses and I could
yeah,
literally just share the Google Street View and we could scan and I could show what I'm seeing, why I don't like it, why I do like it, the cost I would set aside for deferred maintenance and why, so we can literally see it real time, more or less real time on Google Street View of what each property look like. You think that would be really helpful? Even
oh
better
yeah,
than what we did
absolutely.
today?
Yeah, absolutely. If people are still tuning in and still watching, if there's anything kind of specific you'd like Alex to show or what you guys want to see on the next time we're together, put it in the chat, and I'm sure Alex will try and work on it and see what kind of information you folks want to see more of. So we'll wait on that and we'll see if anyone puts anything in there, if there's anything specific. But All Nighter Hider does say, when I come across wood paneling, oftentimes just a bit of sanding to smooth out the fibers that tend to show or screw holes. I try to make it uniform again. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people kind of like they're saying boring. Yeah. Simple and boring is what makes people the most money. I believe what Yasik was trying to say. Yeah.
I'd have to agree.
So Yasik is the AI guy. He's the one that spoke at the um,
Oh, right.
Jack's
Okay.
in-person event.
The AI guy.
Yeah. So he's probably beginning of next year is when he's gonna probably start making his moves. But he is in Jersey, but he's definitely liking what he's seeing in the Pittsburgh market.
Good.
But yeah, I think definitely that'll be very helpful. Like the street view, also like how you're saying, seeing the properties kind of next to each other too, right? What you're looking at as
Mhm.
far as
Right.
um,
Yeah, 'cause sometimes it's just not the property. You gotta look at if you have 10 properties on that street and 2 are boarded up, and you have to look at that. You're not just looking at your property, you're looking at the general street, then the general neighborhood. Um, and that all weighs in on your ultimate decision if this is the right move for me or not.
Yasik also says, I learned to take an easy $1 than a hard $2. And Steven, shoots, I'm not sure. I don't know. I never know if this is Canada Steven or Steven that's already in Pittsburgh. But Steven's asking, if windows don't stay open, is it time to replace?
Great question. It definitely is time to replace if they can't be repaired. So if the window's really old and it's going to cost you $150 to repair it, but you're still going to have a really old window, single pane. It's probably best to spend the 5 to 600 if it's an average window and replace it. It just
Charles,
depends on your budget. If you don't have the money and you have 10 windows and you can repair them all for 1,500 versus 5 or 6,000, then that's what you have to do based on your budget.
yeah. So Hyder's saying Steven could be just a counterweight replacement. But Charles Helicopter McCune is here. Have you ever looked into buying a helicopter by any chance, Alex?
No,
No.
no,
Charles is gonna get one soon though for his wife.
that's cool.
But he's asking heat tape or backup heating.
Yeah, we use both. Um, it depends. Like a lot of times when you have a basement that tends to freeze, and you'll know that when you buy it and you get a cold snap, you're like, oh, okay, I have to take precautions here. So sometimes you'll have a heat tape. So you'll wrap that pipe in heat tape. Then you have to make a note that, okay, it's December. Let's get over there and plug in that heat tape, or let the tenant plug it. It's probably better off if you do it yourself, or we send someone over to plug it in, make sure it's working. Because the tenants, you can't rely on tenants to do things. So heat tape can be helpful. Sometimes if there's a heat vent in the basement, a lot of times there's a vent in the ductwork, and that vent will be closed. You want to open up that vent, or if there's a duct that goes over to an area that's prone to freezing, you can have your HVAC technician go in there and they'll cut a vent right near that area, and literally it's open all the time. Don't even put an option where you can close or open it. It's just an open vent, and it will blow heat in that area. Those are just some of the things you can do to keep um, frozen pipes from being an issue, especially on a property that you know is going to be an issue, like crawl spaces. Sometimes you put additions on, and those additions aren't built on a full foundation. They'll be built in a crawl space and wasn't done correctly. You want to make sure that that area is insulated well, and you take precautions when you know the weather's going to be really cold.
So a lot of people also chiming into Steven's question about the windows. They're saying, yeah, so um, balancers replaced to stay up, not a hard repair. So Steven's also going to check on that. I do see, hey, Brian's tuning in. We can also maybe dig into Brian's deal at some point if you guys do close. So Brian is the one that's under contract for the Troy Hill duplex. So
Mm,
once that closes, maybe you can walk through those numbers if Brian is up for it.
sure.
But yeah, so yeah, if anyone does have any other stuff, Alex, you want him to bring, I'm sure deals. If there's ever any deals you have, you can always bring that. Walk through the numbers on what you
Hmm.
have out there, and people can see kind of
Okay.
what type of things you have that
Yeah.
people are maybe your other investors you have that are selling off or those type of things. But I think people would like that also. But yeah, Joe V is saying, Steven, message him in school if you have any questions about the windows. Uh, yeah, well, I think this was a great one. I think it was great for people to see like the walkthrough of two properties, for what you're going to do on tenant turnovers and also on the flip property. Uh, yeah, so yeah, very good information.
Awesome.
Always a great time. Yeah, I'm just
Thank
trying
you.
to follow up on all these chats coming in right now. Um, but yeah, we'll do it again. We'll schedule another one, and then like we'll say we'll bring some maybe deals to the table. Like
Yeah,
I
I
said,
made some
street.
notes. We could do a street view of maybe 10 properties and just kind of walk through them and say, hey,
Yeah.
why, what kind of area is it? Why would you buy there? What kind of rents you can expect? Why not to buy there? That type of thing. And we could also do one with, we could go through a current deal that maybe I'm buying personally or one that's on the market. And we could just kind of dissect it, walk through it with pictures, and then look at the finances, and then just kind of go through a precise overview of why this one looks appealing or why it doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, maybe one last question though. Is there a certain time of year that you're trying to do these projects, or do you try to stay away of doing flips during the winter months? Does that bother you at all?
Anytime you can come across something that you can make money on, you're going to buy it. It doesn't matter when it is. Personally, for me, since I have different crews, we have property management and we have guys we like to keep busy. You want to keep these guys busy. These crews that you don't want them going somewhere else. It's hard to find good people. So right now, I had a really nice potential flip lined up, and the deal fell through because it was a good project to keep a crew busy for a couple months. So that's what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for one or two small projects like this one on Glenmar that I did a flip on. I'd love to find a couple of those just so I can keep guys busy, even if I'm not going to make much money, if maybe no money. It keeps a crew busy and it keeps food in their refrigerator, and that's the important thing. You keep the good guys busy because it's important. You got to take care of them because they take care of you. So that's what I'm looking for now. Something, a couple small projects would be great.
Um, Two last quick questions, and more from the agent side. So I do see Curtis, who he has a good YouTube channel, PE turned RE, but he's a new agent in the Washington area. Any maybe one advice you could give for a new agent? And then the other question would be, a lot of times I get people bring, should they get their license to do deals on their own? So maybe your two thoughts on that.
I do believe it's a good idea to get your license. I think it can hurt. Um, even even most of the stuff you learn to take your test and get your license, you're never going to use that information. It's Most of it's irrelevant, but some of it's good. It's important. It's book smart, but most of it's learning as you go. But to have that license, I think, is a great goal. Get the license. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. It can't hurt. Absolutely can't hurt. Do you need it? You don't need it. If you don't want to expend that time and energy, you don't need to do that. Just find yourself a couple good agents who are really productive and they communicate well and they have a good work ethic, and just build your team that way. You don't have to be an agent to be successful at it. Is it a good idea? I think it can help, but it's not paramount that you get licensed.
And one big advice maybe for Curtis as a new
As a
agent.
new agent. That
Yeah.
depends on what Curtis is trying to do. Is he trying to grow his business as a real estate agent and be an investor? Because that's what I did. I invested, and then I thought, well, I bought 3 properties. I thought, well, I'm gonna get my real estate license and I can just be my own agent, get paid for it. So why not? And then that morphed into, well, if I'm gonna do that, I don't want to turn wrenches anymore because I was a mechanic. I said, why don't I just be an agent too? And so that morphed me into a completely different career where I was a very successful sales agent. I was buying real estate. And then eventually I started my property management business in 2002. So it just depends where Curtis wants to take it.
But I mean, is there like one tip that you could maybe give that you found that worked for you to take off from the real estate, the agent side of things, like
The
sales?
agent. So if he wants to
Yeah.
do sales, you have to become a walking billboard. You always have to be talking real estate, handing out your cards, working social media, which I'm not very good at because this is when I was very successful. There was no social media. Work, friends, family, sphere of influence. You only need to know, what is it? It's 200. Everybody knows. Shoot, I forget now. There's a calculation for this. 650. It's 62,500 people. Yeah, that's it. So somebody did these calculations and I believe it. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But every person knows about 250 people. So if you just and you don't have to market to 250,000 people, you market to 250 already. They know you, they like you, they trust you. Okay. You already half the battle is removed because that's half the battle getting into someone's door to helping for them wanting to hire you. They have to know, like you, or trust you, or be referred by somebody. So 250 people, everybody knows 250 people on average. Now, if you talk to the mayor of a city, he might know 2,500 people. That's a great person to network with. but on average, everybody knows 250 people. So 250 times 250, that's 6,250 people. 62,500 people. So if you just market heavily through social media, through postcards, through happy birthday wishes, to texting on a regular basis, 20, 30 times a year, you're touching out to these people. That's not very costly. You're actually reaching 62,500 people because they know 250 people each. That's, as far as ROI, is the best way to spend your time and effort, is on a smaller sphere of influence and then grow from there.
All right, I like it. Yeah, so thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. We'll wrap it up with Jacek saying thank you. Always amazing to listen to a Pittsburgh legend. But yeah,
Who's that?
that's the AI guy. That's
I mean,
oh,
who's
you
the
know,
Pittsburgh
you're
legend
the
you're talking
legend.
about?
You're yeah. I won't call you Yoda anymore, but I
Okay.
told we got to come up with a better name for you. But
How about just Alex?
well,
How about
yeah,
that?
we gotta get a catchy name, you know. Say, but
All right,
yeah,
man. Well, everybody have a great day, and Mark, we'll meet up again soon. Okay.
all right. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.